and for the international order that we have worked for generations to build. Ordinary men and women are too small-minded to govern their own affairs. That order and progress can only come when individuals surrender their rights to an all-powerful sovereign.
Tonight, Q provides more insight into the mystery surrounding the flight that was surrounded by law enforcement at JFK before departure after a mistaken report of a hijacking. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. For those of you who don't know, every one of these episodes starts out the exact same way. I thank each and every one of you, the subscribers, because I'm completely and utterly thankful to every one of you who have come and hit that button. It makes a huge difference. If you haven't hit that button yet, please come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications. That way, as soon as these videos get posted, you'll be notified, because as soon as information is made available to me, I make it available to you. Now, the latest posts are crazy. We have so much stuff here. It's kind of like, all right, we have a big night tonight, and it's going to tie in so many things. But for those of you who don't know, apparently there was a flight that was leaving, set to depart JFK, and in that departure, and it's taxiing out of the runway, I guess, or to leave, to get on the runway to leave, the flight actually mistakenly called in a hijacking. Interesting. That to me sounds very suspicious at its face value, but this is what's being reported so far. You see 3 different news sources here. And it's amazing. I've actually done a Google search, and a conservative, or slightly conservative news association pops up. Probably the only one that will ever come up in these search results. To give you one, right? So Google's getting a little bit better. They've changed now. So instead of giving you like just all left-wing liberal news sites, they'll give you one that might be slightly conservative. That was aside to what is going on here and what the Q posts are. But listen, guys, we have so many Q posts. I'm going to try to stay focused, and we're going to get through each and every one of them. First of all, Q references this post here, and Anon says, same plane that was in Q's picture. It was a JetBlue Airbus A32, probably not related though, right? And then this is that Anon was posting to this person, another Anon, who put a tweet up of the JetBlue flight that was at JFK that had this huge security incident. And the pictures were kind of stunning. I was actually watching Tucker Carlson this evening, and he interrupted the news program to actually talk about this incident, but they gave no further details, and I didn't hear anything else about it afterwards, right? So now it's been coming out that that was reportedly, I guess, a false report of a mistaken report of a hijacking. So this is here, Q posting saying, coincidence, review image location, nothing provided is random. SFO JFK A32-1 direct Q. Listen, few things I want to connect here. Quite obviously off the bat, SFO to JFK is kind of a reference to a picture that was given to us by Q a while ago. It was these pictures right here. And these pictures they were posted around, I want to say it was May 2nd was when this was posted, May 2nd. And he gave us these 2 photos without any real explanation. And what a lot of people determined after kind of studying the land, the topography, and the plane itself, that it was a JetBlue flight, as you can make out there on the tail section, that it was an A321 Airbus airplane, and also that the departure from which it was coming was San Francisco Airport, so in California. These were all not my discoveries. These were Anons and Redditors and other artists out there who put that together. But that is what the reference is to in this Q post, right? And so you're thinking, what does that mean? Well, Q's asking us to review the image location. Nothing provided is random. So if nothing provided is random, then there was a message being sent there. Now, the prevailing theory right now online would state basically that these images are being scraped from the bad actors' cell phones. So they're using their cell phones on like burner phones and whatnot to conduct these espionage actions. And even though they think that they're on these covert iPhones or HTE or whatever, Z or whoever, I can't even remember. It's probably one of the Chinese manufacturers' cell phones, because Q's already gone over this in previous posts. I'm not going to get into it other than to say that the timing of this post from May 2nd here with these two pictures actually aligns with what we were seeing with regard to right after this was the picture of the cell phone that we presumably could say are the Apple iPhones that were, this is the Chinese Apple store, this is Apple headquarters. So like you're kind of like, you can see, okay, well maybe we can make a connection there. So maybe the pictures, basically to get back on topic here, were taken from one of those phones, and it was being said, look, you think they're secure, you think that they're untappable, or we can't, you know, scrape the information off, and we can, and we have, and then that somehow connects back direct to me, just off the top of my head. There was this one post by Q that will always stick out in my mind, and I've done a few videos about it in the past, about there was the Bangladeshi guy who, he was a terrorist basically. He went down to explode himself and to commit an act of terror in a subway, I believe in New York. And this gentleman had only gunpowder, and it would seem that either he was the world's dumbest terrorist, which is certainly a possibility, or there was some switch made where he had an explosive, but then it was switched out for gunpowder, to where he just made a loud bang and had a lot of burns, and some people suffered some various concussions and whatnot. But in that, Q warned us before that attack, saying, and he gave this ominous code for us. He said, or they said, Q said, blunt and direct time. And everyone was like, what does that mean? So the Anons were trying to put it together, so on and so forth. And eventually the outcome was that it was BDT, which was the official currency of Bangladesh, I guess. So it was all connected. It was a warning. There you go. That's my take on it, or a direct flight. A few different ways you can read that. So you guys let me know. Like I say, this whole program is, first of all, about, you know, helping you guys come to God and see the light. But also, we cover information, and we cover the truth, and we cover the stuff the mainstream media won't cover, and we do it every single day. So Q responding here to his own post, right, says, signal sent, attempt still made, averted. Do you believe it's a coincidence extreme rhetoric is being pushed while at the same time Rod Rosenstein is on the brink of collapse? Define. Rod Rosenstein must either comply with all document demands or face impeachment. Two-way failure. If he complies, he fails. Self-implication. No conflict. If he fails to comply, he gets impeached, removed. Why no DOJ text disclosed to the public? Rod Rosenstein and Loretta Lynch. Loretta Lynch to Hillary. X to X. James Comey to Loretta Lynch. 247 times relevant. Loretta Lynch is key to connecting White House, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, John Brennan, Samantha Power, Eric Holder. Where are the James Comey, Andrew McCabe text messages, Gmail messages, burner phone messages, call pulls? Coming soon to a theater near you. Peter Strzok, Lisa Page texts are only scratching the surface. Threats of assassination? They are preparing for this by activating progressive activists. Red line. Once the documents are supplied and viewed by Senate and congressional leaders and the public, they lose. Setup, scam, FISA, abuse of executive powers, illegal spying, frame, insert assets, prevent at all costs, traitors all. They know we know, but until the public knows it is contained, the people have the power. Mainstream media will portray progressive activists as a large part of the population. This is false. No possibility of compromise. Do not underestimate our resolve. We stand at the ready. Q. Perfect. Breaking this down, a lot of it's kind of like self-explanatory, so I don't need to explain certain parts, but the signal's been sent. That means there was a signal sent that this all is going to blow up in their face with Rod Rosenstein, the FBI investigation, the DOJ, everyone being corrupt, basically involved in the Obama administration as far as having hands dirty when it comes to at least this Trump Spygate, whatever, implanting informants into the Trump campaign in order to find collusion that didn't exist, and then when it didn't exist, creating a false dossier in order to create the necessity for an investigation that would undermine the legitimacy of his nomination and his election, and also act as a way to stall progress in his administration's ability to duly administer the office of the President of the United States, so in the executive branch. So, guys, that is what the signal was being sent against. And the signal sent, I mean, it could be anything. The signal sent was talking about the flight. It was talking about the pictures that Q gave us here about the whole, we know, here's the flight. We know it's an JetBlue A321 airplane, and who knows? This could have been the person. They might have been surveilling him, and or this was the person's cell phone who took the picture, and they took the picture of the flight, and we scraped it and then put it up there to show, hey, we know what you're doing. We know who you are, right? But they still made the attempt, and it was averted. Thank God, truly, thank God. Prayers for Q. For always we're praying for each other, but that was a great one. So thank you. It says, do you believe it's a coincidence extreme rhetoric is being pushed while at the same time Rod Rosenstein is on the brink of collapse? No, I really don't. And this is crazy. Like, first of all, I want to talk about this. Laura Loomer, what a great job she's doing. She's just all over it. She's on top of the Las Vegas stuff. She's on top of this Maxine Waters thing. I really think her work's great. I think she's got a lot of great views. I mean, we may disagree on certain points here and there, but I will tell you right now that this was a great video, and I have to share it with you guys because it's really important. And we're going to watch this for a few seconds. It's her confronting Maxine Waters in the halls of I think the California Senate House or whatever, their congressional house building there. So watch this, though. This is, you got to watch this.
Hi, Congresswoman Waters. Hi, my name's Laura Loomer. I'm an investigative journalist. You just recently made some comments in which you encouraged your supporters.
Who are you, darling?
My name is Laura Loomer. I'm a Trump supporter, and I'm also a conservative journalist.
Come to my office. I'll be happy to sit down with you.
No, I would like to ask you questions. Please don't push my camera out of my hands. You just encouraged your supporters. You just encouraged your supporters to harass Trump supporters and officials.
Please come to my office.
I just wanted to ask you, where are conservatives allowed to go?
Please come
Are there
to my
separate?
office and talk with me.
Do we sit at the back of the bus?
Please come to my office and talk with me.
Where can we
We'll
eat?
be happy to talk with
Where
you.
can a conservative eat at a restaurant in
Please
D.C.?
come to my office and talk.
I'm
and be
asking you
civil.
right now.
Please come to my
This is
office and
civil.
talk with me.
You're talking about civility. Do you think it's civil to call for the
Please
harassment
come
of
to
Trump
my
officials?
office and sit down and
No,
talk
I'm
with
asking
me.
you right now.
Will you please
Are
come
we
to my
supposed to
office?
sit
All
at
right,
the
so you
back
get
of
the
the
idea.
bus?
After that, it's a lot of
Are we
screaming
supposed
about
to
how
sit
it's
at the
a
back of the
members-only
bus?
elevator that supposedly only
members
services
elevator.
members of the Senate of California or whatever, or representatives of California, however that works out. So this is crazy though, but we already examined, if you guys want to go back and watch this, we examined in this video the comments that were actually made by Maxine Waters, and what she said was basically, if you see people out, don't allow them to participate in public activities. Tell them they're not welcome anywhere, anytime, any place. So basically, by her logic, you, me, and pretty much everyone that watches these videos, at least, which is quite a few people, just looking at the numbers, not bragging, but that we're all not welcome to participate in commerce. We're not welcome to be fairly treated as equals amongst our other citizenry. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is that she was actually using it for a political purpose. And when you look up, oddly enough, which I thought was not too crazy. But when you look up exactly what the info is on it, you'll see. And by info, I mean, of course, the law. This is, let's see, this is 18 U.S. Code 2331, and we're going to read out of, this is a defining chapter. It's going to define certain activities as in regard to terrorism. So we're going to read section, let's see, we're going to read section 5. And we're going to go ahead and just read. The term domestic terrorism means activities that, and then we're going to read right here, appear to be intended to intimidate or coerce a civilian population, to influence the policy of a government by intimidation or coercion, to affect the conduct of a government by mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping, and occur primarily within the territorial jurisdiction of the United States. Now, I can see, in my opinion, how 2 of these have been met. Is that not fair? I'm literally I'm just reading the law, and I'm not a lawyer. I didn't pass the bar. I don't have that expertise to contribute. But just doing that simple search and pulling some information up, I can tell you that what she's done technically may be construed as domestic terrorism. But I'll leave that to a jury and a judge if there's an indictment ever or a grand jury. You know, that would be for them. That's not for me. I'm just pointing it out and saying, you know, come on, guys, let's get together here. You're putting her on NBC. You're giving her a platform. She sickens me. But that was definitely a little bit of a rant off. But it was important that we got that in because it is talking about this extreme rhetoric that we're seeing, and it's all a diversion from Rod Rosenstein. And it's all a diversion from the fact that Rod Rosenstein's been faced with this ultimatum by Congress that was put out today. Sarah A. Carter is already reporting the House approved a resolution demanding the DOJ and the FBI turn over the documents that are being requested because they still haven't done it. And although you've had the hard rhetoric, now you have a resolution. I mean, we're making steps in the right direction. You guys have to understand, everyone out there who's seeking that instant gratification of, oh, we have to just go get them and just release everything. There's decorum, there's procedures, there is the fact that government doesn't work like instantaneously on purpose. We don't want mobs of people roaming the streets doing, you know, who knows what in the name of justice and vigilantism. We need to have this structure, and we have to let it go through the proper channels. But at the same time, it is our duty to light a fire under these people's metaphorical bottoms and say, look, you need to get your act together and do what these Jim Jordan's doing, do what Trey Gowdy's doing, do what other Mark Meadows, other congressional members are doing. The Freedom Caucus in its entirety is basically all on the same page. Those kind of things are what are really important, and I'm just very, very, I'm very enthused to know that this is going on. And the two-way failure, this is self-explanatory. He's going to implicate himself if he turns over the information. But then if he doesn't, he's going to get impeached. So he's basically done no matter what. But they're probably going to let him get impeached so that they can turn into a political thing or a political story to hit a hit piece against President Trump, as they always do. But there are text messages that Q's telling us between Rod Rosenstein and Loretta Lynch, between Loretta Lynch and Hillary Clinton. X and X, who knows? That could be Hillary Clinton and Obama for all I know, right? James Comey and Loretta Lynch, they had 247 times relevant conversations. Now, why is Loretta Lynch the key? Loretta Lynch is the key because she was the Attorney General. She was the head at the Department of Justice during the Obama administration, thereby being able to administer all of these pardons that were not even executive pardons. They were just Attorney General's pardons, I guess, by their corrupt system where somehow they could just delegate down power to tell prosecutors not to investigate cases where there's obvious crime and wrongdoing happening. Under the guise of national security, and these supposed redactions now are keeping us from finding this out. And that's the key that Q's hinting at here. Saying, what about James Comey and Andrew McCabe? They were communicating apparently on a Gmail dead drop account, all with Eric Schmidt in the know on. Where they would go, and you know how, like I've explained this 100 times, in a Gmail account you can go and you can write an email and do it as a draft. So instead of, they did it like a dead drop. Spies would do dead drops back in the day where you go and you leave a package at a bench in a park and then somebody comes later and gets that. So you guys you avoid being seen together or communicating together. Same principle here. They went on Gmail, started writing their little drafts, shared the login credentials with each other, and then they could communicate via drafts without having to send emails over the internet. But they don't realize when it got saved to the cloud, the NSA had it immediately. And that's the ridiculous nature of this, that they don't have the ability to understand. Everything you do is basically, I mean, I would say for the past few years has been monitored at least, if not further back. There's nothing you do, no keystroke, no nothing. But that's fine, because we can't, what are we going to do about that now, right? Other than to say, I'm glad it was there because it caught all of this, right? It was a dragnet and it shouldn't be there, but in a dragnet sense, it caught everything. And this is it. And they're even saying that there's threats of assassination. These are the people who are the law enforcement and the Justice Department. I mean, come on. This has to get you going. Now, this is what they're doing. This is what Maxine Waters is doing. This is what I was just explaining. It's called preparing for this by activating progressive activists. These, in my opinion, my humble opinion, these nut jobs who go and stalk members of government and public officials and members of different organizations, and then they say no peace, no sleep, and they won't let them sleep, so they camp out their house, terrify their family, or they kick them out of restaurants, say they can't eat there, or they kick them out of a movie theater because they say that they're not allowed to enjoy the public because they have a political view that they disagree with. What does that remind you of? I mean, I get images of, you know, fascists breaking windows in Nazi Germany, throwing Jews into ghettos. I get images of 1960s civil culture clash where you had African Americans being given rights. I see those things as similar comparisons to what we're seeing today with these progressive activists who are basically, if you're not on their side, you're literally a Nazi, and you're basically the equivalent of someone who should not be allowed to have any type of view or speech or freedom or rights in our society, and that's completely antithetical to what our founding fathers and our Constitution and our Republic is based on. So you guys let me know what you think in the comments, but that's my little freedom spiel. Now, once the documents are supplied and viewed by the Senate and the public, they lose. This was all a setup. So this is what Q's explained. It was all a setup, the Russia thing. It was a scam. They abused FISA. They abused their executive powers. They were conducting illegal spying. They were framing individuals. They inserted their own assets into the campaign in order to have an insurance policy to make sure that the investigation took place. Their attempts are based on the principle of preventing Trump from being president at all costs. They're all traitors. They know that the Trump administration and the people in the know here on Q and everyone else, we know. And but until the public knows it's contained, that's why this channel is so important. So spread this information far and wide. Look, what we're doing here is very important in just the simple sense of we're a part of the PR of getting information out, because the mainstream media cannot be trusted. They've just shown a bias. They've shown, just like Peter Strzok and Lisa Page showed a bias against the president. I mean, turn on CNN for 5 minutes. They despise the president. Turn on MSNBC for 5 minutes. They despise the president. And their coverage is completely partisan. And the news is supposed to be objective. So the problem is that the mainstream media is going to portray these progressive activists as a large part of the population, and it's just not true. It's you're taking this small swath of the population and you're blowing it up and magnifying it to represent a part of the population that doesn't feel this way. And I know there are some liberals and progressives and Democrats out there who are very good people. God bless you all for you know, if you are here watching, God bless you. And if you have friends who think that this is all, that Trump's this big Russian conspirator and he's evil and he's a Nazi, please, for God's sakes, I love the Lord, and I just want you to know, please tell your friends, this country needs us to come together. We cannot just stand separated. These people were criminals. Even if you are a liberal and a Democrat, I mean, wouldn't you, in the heart of your hearts, know that you love this country more than you love Hillary Clinton, or you love the the dynasty of Obama, or the Clinton dynasty, or the Obama administration. I mean, gosh, you guys, please understand. This is my attempt to plead here. If you don't come on board with this, and you're being given the information to know it's true, then how are you not going to be held accountable in the future for your actions? Just take that into mind. And I'm not saying held accountable other than, look, if not for anything else, this is the truth. You want a clean, good, fair, equitable government. You shouldn't want this majority rule crazy, or not even just majority rule, where the kleptocracy rule, just insanity. So there, we stand at the ready. Don't underestimate our resolve. I mean, not just the Q Collective, us, we the people, those who are here watching, don't underestimate the resolve of us to never stop, no matter what you do. Remember that. Okay, so in this, he actually misspelled the word fails right here, saying, or Q, I don't know, they, them, said fails with an E, and the Anon says fails, and then Q says error long night Q. So it's an error. It's just a simple typo, nothing to be examined any further, in my humble, as I say, opinion. But I don't know everything. There might be more to it than that. Anyway, so here's a flashback to a Q post from before. An Anon posts here that there was a post by Q that said Seth Rich and Julian Assange in June. Anything? And being that June is almost over, Q says, Julian Assange in the news. Think James Comey. Server unlocks Seth Rich. MS-13 2187 nearby. Phones unlock command and control. ETA estimated. It has begun. Q. Okay, so a lot to explain here for those of you who haven't been following the channel too closely. So Julian Assange has been in the news lately, but why has he been in the news? Well, the latest story coming out is saying that there was an immunity deal in the works between James Comey and the Trump, or actually between basically the Trump administration and Julian Assange, in order to give him kind of immunity. They were having talks. I believe this was after Trump became president even, because it was like a new, like Julian Assange was happy to talk to the president, to the Trump administration, and say, look, can we work on an immunity deal? Can you bring me over? So long story short, James Comey, while he was still the acting director of the FBI, came in and axed that whole set of negotiations. So what he basically did was killed the talks between them. And I don't know how specifically he did it, other than it's been reported that he basically stopped the communications because they were between some high-level officials within I think the Department of Justice or the FBI. I think the Department of Justice or somebody closely affiliated with them, a lawyer with high standing, was having a conversation with Julian Assange, just talking about what immunity would look like and what the whole deal would look like if he were to basically have this deal go with the Trump administration. And James Comey basically threw a wrench into it, killed that. Then Q is saying, server unlocks Seth Rich. So we've already talked about this. The speculation, this is pure speculation, pure conjecture. There's no facts to base this really on, besides the fact that there's a lot of circumstantially suspicious evidence. But that somebody in the DNC speculated, possibly people maybe like Debbie Wasserman Schultz or others, were basically using people like MS-13. The reason why President Trump has blown up MS-13 and really said that name, because he could pick any name. He could say the Bloods or the Crips or what, I don't know. I mean, I'm not up on what gangs are around these days, I guess, but he could use any gang, but he chooses that because he's basically saying, look, these individuals were used in targeted assassinations, and that's me reading into it for you guys. You guys definitely use your own critical thinking. I don't want to tell you what to think. But the phones, they have all the communication. So these guys were communicating, and see, it's saying 2187 nearby. So there, and this, I'm assuming that on the same night that Seth Rich was murdered, or near that time afterwards, the two people who basically were involved, probably the one who got the order and the one who gave the order, were basically taken out, because that's how they keep people silent. You know, you put people on a mission and then you take them out to keep them silent if it's a high priority thing, right? Allegedly, or speculatively speaking. But that's what's being suggested there, and it's saying ETA estimated. So I think what Q's saying is that the June ETA was an estimated time, and we don't know exactly when that's all going to come out, especially since call me threw a wrench in it. At least the news is coming out that that happened, and it's saying it has begun, Q. So who knows what has begun, but apparently July is going to be a month that we all need to look forward to. We're going to have a lot of information come out then, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. But here he posts, Q posts, or they post the picture that we went over earlier, this one from the Q post from May 2nd. So it's Q basically verifying that this was the plane, this is the reason that they gave us this message, in my opinion. And there's nothing else there besides that. But the next post is the picture that Q gave us from June 13th, where he was apparently, or they were apparently picked up by what would seem to be maybe a Secret Service detail of some sort. Somebody pointed out to me something very interesting about this photo too. If you actually like zoom in on the person here in the front seat, there was actually somebody who I really trust. I think they're a pretty resourceful and insightful person. They told me that the speculation here could be that there's a woman here, right, who is with the Secret Service. I mean, it would seem, but they speculate that this woman was actually possibly Melania Trump, but that's just pure speculation, because of the fact that her fingernails, and I don't have the best camera or the best picture here to zoom in on, but because the fingernails were like long and painted, and that's not regulation for Secret Service, so it wasn't a Secret Service, but it was a woman with long hair sitting in the front seat. So that's basically something I thought was interesting, but that was it. Q posted in that one, thank you, U.S. Secret Service, right? So interestingly enough, Q was just responding to the picture of the airplane here. So it's a lot to be thought about there. I can tell you what I think, but it's not anything set in stone yet. I just think that there's a definite connection possibly between the Secret Service and stopping whatever happened in JFK, and the fact that Q's giving us these pictures, and he showed us a picture of the exact same airplane that was not the exact same one maybe, but the exact same airline and plane that was surrounded by law enforcement this evening, where they allegedly called in, mistakenly called in a hijacking. And so, look, I'm glad, thank God, we don't need any hijacks, we don't need anything like that. I'm so thankful to President Trump and to Q and to the military and to our Secret Service and all of our government people who are still working every day to do this whole thing. It's a lot of work, and I know how much it means to not just myself, but everyone I can really speak for. I think on behalf of our channel here, everyone here, we definitely thank them. So the next post is actually kind of interesting. It's a Daily Beast article that Q points to, and it says, why are we a threat to them, Q? And Q's been giving us these all along, but apparently now, hey, Curt Schilling, man, how cool is that? Baseball Hall of Fame. I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame yet, but should be, I guess. But a famous pitcher, Curt Schilling, has backed the QAnon conspiracy theory, according to Daily Beast. And I'm kind of upset they don't link to any of my videos. You'd think they would, if they were really covering Q, but I guess they don't want the actual truth, right? So, but this is funny because the article just goes on about how Curt Schilling linked to a video that talks about QAnon, that talks about all this stuff, and it basically kind of does some like underhanded jabs at him too, talking about how, he's retired or he lost his job at ESPN or whatever. But it's funny to think about what it's saying. They were talking about this video that Curt Schilling posted in this article, and it was talking about how the video talked about Miley Cyrus was forced to abandon her family in Hannah Montana, her family-friendly Hannah Montana image in an effort to destabilize the American family culture. And I wouldn't put that past them. See, and that's why, and they talk about it as a joke, but they don't have any idea. They look at these videos and the TV shows and the movies and the violence and the subtle messages about how crime is good and how illegal things are sexy and how appealing, and they just blast right by that. It goes right over their head, and they go, oh man, Hannah just, wanted her freedom. No, I mean, these people who get that famous are controlled by the handlers, and they're not literally handlers. They're literally the companies and corporations that promote these individuals. They're not going to promote a product that they don't have full control over. And believe you me, Hannah Montana was a product. I mean, no offense to Miley Cyrus. She seems like a nice enough person, I'm sure. But and I'm not saying she herself was a product, but that image and that persona, that was a product that they owned. And for them to suggest that it was being used to destabilize the American family structure would not be far-fetched, because, what people don't seem to focus on is the fact that, these companies that go out and sell this garbage, for the most part, in certain cases, some companies are great, but, some of these companies go out there and they use these hidden advertising tactics, other things. And anyway, I'm getting off topic here. Kurt Schilling posted all this, and Hannah Montana and Vladimir Putin. How many articles are you going to read on the internet? And this is the beauty of QAnon. How many articles are you going to read on the internet where you talk about Vladimir Putin, Kurt Schilling, and Miley Cyrus, and North Korea's Kim Jong-un in the... I'm sorry. Excuse me. But that's the beauty of Q, is where else in the world are you going to get that kind of entertainment? Because as much as the sick, evil, globalist, pedophiles, Satanists, Luciferians sicken me and the crimes they've committed are disgusting, sometimes you have to laugh. And I'm glad I got that out, because there's a lot of stuff going on here. So the next one's kind of an interesting post, and there was a person over on Reddit who broke this down perfectly, but we'll read it real quick. It says, desperate agencies do stupid things. Dead cat bounce. You may have the site, but we have the source. And it gives a link to this WikiLeaks tweet that I thought was very, very interesting, saying, why is QAnon leading anti-establishment Trump voters to embrace regime change and neoconservatism? And it's this definitely anti-Q hit piece here talking about regime change in Iran. Oh, wow. Hi, clowns. Hi, clowns at WikiLeaks. If you guys are watching, yeah, we all know who you are. That was not that was the least slick thing you could have done, was post this post. Sorry to be laughing tonight, but it's just one of those nights where a lot of funny stuff coming, right? Dead cat bounce. But let's read what the Anon, well, basically I'll show you right here. This was a post by Clowns in America, so they have their own Reddit page too. And so the post basically says, it says, desperate agencies do stupid things. It says, black hats still remain in the alphabet agencies. You co-opted WikiLeaks, but you exposed yourselves by trying to counter Q, right? So basically they're trying to counter Q and they've exposed themselves. Dead cat bounce. Very soon people will know that Assange hasn't been at WikiLeaks for a long time. You may have the site, but we have the source. You control WikiLeaks, but we have Julian Assange. And I'm just reading through this here because I'd rather read it with the explanations, because I think they're going to explain it as we go. We're trying to save time here. Then it gives the Twitter status. It says, you failed to manipulate Q followers. We want the people of Iran to rise up against their despotic rulers. Panic is good. By trying to paint Q as a neocon, you've tried too hard and overplayed your hand. Panic is right. Proof WikiLeaks is compromised. July 2018, the month the world discovered the truth. The truth about the cabal, or that Julian Assange is in a secure location or cooperating with the White Hats. I'm not sure about if that's what the full truth is, but yeah, maybe. It says, conspiracy no more. The world will know Q is real. Time to feed. Time to pass QAnon info everywhere. Maximum exposure. Q. I just wanted to read this post from here because this guy, whoever it is, girl, whoever, did a great job in breaking that down. I thought that was a very, very succinct and well thought out breakdown of what Q was saying. I would have given a probably similar breakdown of it. So I thought it was just, why not go use it and give them credit and show you guys what they said, which I basically agree with wholeheartedly. Now, the next picture is known one. And this is the picture from the back side of a plane here. And, you can vaguely see the tail. It looks red, so it doesn't look like it was the JetBlue flight, but this is obviously, I don't think this is where JFK is. I'm not sure if there's mountains around JFK, so that's definitely taken from somewhere else. Maybe the Shanghai airport, as we look at the next few pictures, but then it shows this and the area here in response to that picture, and then it shows another picture of that area, right, from the picture like from a plane. And it says, Anon says, we need clues, access to cockpit, frame of shot, expand your thinking, Q. So whoever was on this flight had access to the cockpit, I guess, and they were taking pictures of this. This is in Shanghai, and I can tell you why I know that, because somebody did some great digging already and actually overlaid it with a picture of Shanghai and in China. And here you go. It looks, you know, almost exactly the same with the arrangement of the river here, and then the holding tanks here, and all that. So it obviously is from Shanghai. That being said, is that, my question is was it a person who came through Shanghai, with regard to this flight that was mysteriously surrounded by law enforcement? Did somebody come through Shanghai? Did they go through that airport and then they went to San Francisco to JFK, and that's how they got there? And then they planned, and then they got on a flight and they were stopped before departure from JFK? Possible. That is definitely possible. But that's how you have to expand your thinking with this. Now, Q warns us in the next post, chatter, trains, buses, be vigilant, Q. So we need to be very vigilant in the news. Any reports about stuff with trains or buses, or if you're out traveling on trains or buses, keep your eyes open. Just be aware of your surroundings. If you see something, say something, that kind of thing. Yeah, so please, we pray that nothing happens, and we pray that that's just a warning to them not to do it, because we know about their plans. And the last post here says, fist pumps regarding POTUS Q encounter. Keep up the good fight, Patriot. This will be a very common theme known only to you. Feel proud. Hashtag winning. Where we go one, we go all. And then it gives a link to this awesome Reddit post here, where the person, Marco Kiko, went to the Trally and got a signed hat. And he actually said, I think he had written on there before, where we go one, we go all. And he had handed it to President Trump, and he signed it. How incredible is that? Right? So shout out to that. That's just, President Trump is the man. I don't even know how to explain it. I just really, I think that he gets just everyone in the sense that, you know, we want regular things. We want peace. We want prosperity. We want jobs. We want wealth. We want ability to take care of our family, and security and safety and peace. I mean, these things that Trump's doing, President Trump's doing, are great. I commend him. Good job, Mr. President. But that is pretty much it for this episode so far. We can hit the refresh button, see if there's a new post, which you never know. Not so far. So with that being said, I want to thank everyone for watching. Now,
to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous 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 to our democracy.
The truth is that the press these days is far more dangerous to our democracy than any single candidate. They have gone through great lengths to propagate a lot of lies. The Mockingbird mainstream media.